Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another review. This is another paid request, this time from Travis. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topics, reactions, reviews, re-reviews, randomness, out of the blueness, whatever it may be, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And this is for an older film, a 1944 film called Arsenic and Old Lace, directed by Frank Capra, same guy who did It's a Wonderful Life, and starring Cary Grant. Cary Grant was like one of the big stars of his time, because he was a guy, deemed good looking, but he would also can do silly comedy stuff as well. You say he was kind of the Tom Hanks of his time. That's the best way to describe Cary Grant. He was the Tom Hanks of his time. And the movie's definitely a bit of more of a black comedy than I thought it would be, because Cary Grant is a guy who wrote this bachelor's Bible about don't get married, but then lo and behold, he might be getting married with the love of his life. He's trying to avoid them, but ultimately he's like, no, you know what, never mind, I can't do this. All fine, okay, let's do this. They're ready to get married. They go to Cary Grant's aunt's house. She's off getting herself ready, things of that nature. And Cary Grant's realizing more and more just how nuts his family is. He sees his two aunts. He sees his brother. His one brother thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt. Each time he goes up the stairs, he goes, charge, and goes all the way up. He just cannot get out of the mindset of being Teddy Roosevelt, the president. And his two aunts, they're very chipper, they're very happy, they're very nice, and they're very much serial murderers. What I mean by that is they murdered someone before he got there, and by the window there's this little thing that you can open, and there's a dead body in there. We don't see the dead body. We never see the actual dead body. I don't know if that's just... Because this time and period, there's more strict things of what you can and can't show. So I wonder if that was one of those things you can't... Well, I guess you could, because there were horror films, Dracula and stuff. But I don't know. Finds a dead body, and he's thinking his brother, who thinks he's Teddy Roosevelt, that he did it. And the aunt's like, oh no, we did it. And Cary Grant is just so confused as to how and why they're doing it. Well, we think of it as put them out of their misery. They're very lonely, old, very lonely bachelors. So we're doing a service. And the aunts do a good job. They seem like very nice. You know, the aunts that you want. Very nice, very sweet, very harmonious. They just happen to be crazy. And they put poison and arsenic, hence the title, and strychnine and stuff in the tea. Give it to people, they die, and they buried people in the basement. There's like a dozen bodies in the basement, which we never see the basement. We never see like those bodies in the basement, I should say. Again, I don't know if that was a ratings thing, because I remember with Psycho in 1960, one of the big things, oh my god, they showed a toilet flushing, because that was a big no-no. I'm not joking. Like, really? Yeah, really. No, you cannot show a toilet, and you cannot show it flushing? Did I say sinking before? If I did, I meant flushing. If I fucked it up that bad, then my mind's being flushed. Or it needs flushed. Get the shit for brains out. And then Cary Grant is in panic mode. Now, at the time, his performance was deemed very over the top, because he's bouncing everywhere. I thought it worked for the situation. I thought, and my stomach feels the same way as well, I thought it worked for him to show the lunacy of the situation, and how this guy's trying to handle everything is just coming apart at the seams. It's like, okay, you know what, I'm going to commit my brother, who thinks Teddy Roosevelt, and the crimes would be blamed on him, and it won't matter because he'll just be in an asylum. I'm like, I don't think that's how the law works, but they weren't really strict on that 1944 movie wise. The intricacies of the law and all this stuff. And there's a couple good lines in there. Like he's talking to the guy on the phone trying to explain to him. Yeah, well, they're busy and you're dizzy. You know what? I'm not drunk, but you give me an idea. Give me an idea. I wouldn't say I really found it that hilarious, though. It's a very long movie. It's almost 2 hours long. I mean, it's an hour and 51 minutes long, and this is a time when the end credits were only like 10 seconds long. Nowadays, credits could be 10 minutes long. Here, they were literally like 10 seconds long. So when it says like an hour and 51, it really is an hour and 51 minutes. And I will admit, by the second half, I was getting kind of bored. I wasn't really feeling it much. I'm not a big fan of the movie. It's not because it's an older film. I liked It's a Wonderful Life. I like Dracula. I like Frankenstein. I like The Invisible Man. I love Abbott and Costello movies. Meet Frankenstein, Meet the Invisible Man, Hold That Ghost. I remember liking, it's been a while since I've seen them, but I remember liking some of the Red Skelton movies, like the Whistling in Dixie, Whistling in the Dark. I would actually like to pick that. I think there's a collection of those. I like to pick those up and watch them again because I remember enjoying Red Skelton stuff for comedy. It was Abbott and Costello, Three Stooges. Like Three Stooges, Abbott and Costello. That was my jam when I was a kid, so to speak. That was the stuff I grew up with a lot, watched a lot as a kid. Was Three Stooges. So it's not because it's old. It's that there's stuff that kind of made me smirk. Cary Grant, I think his panic mode made the film a bit interesting. Then another brother comes in, and this brother has a face that looks like Boris Karloff. They even mention the name Boris Karloff. That's because this other guy that he's with is a plastic surgeon and made him up, and it just made up to look like Boris Karloff. And that brother is a killer as well, and he escaped from an asylum. But the other buddy, the plastic surgeon, is Peter Lorre. And for those who don't know who Peter Lorre is, if you see his name or you listen to his voice, you go, oh, I get it. He's a guy that's a lot of times people talk like this. And, he's worked with Humphrey Bogart. If you look up the Peter Lorre, Lorre, when people talk like this, kind of like Ren from Ren and Stimpy. Not the cat, but the Ren. You idiot! What do you think you're doing? That voice is a lot based on Peter Lorre. And a lot of people mimicked his voice or looked at him in his performance. And he's not playing that bad of a guy in this, which was interesting to see. I kind of wish he was even more in the forefront. Maybe it was more of him and Cary Grant kind of playing tennis verbally with performance-wise. Because I think those were the two best parts of the film. On the flip side, when that brother came in, Frank Capra had Cary Grant disappear for felt like 20-25 minutes other than one scene or so. And it just felt like a different movie. It felt like I flipped the channel and now I'm watching a different motion picture. There was kind of this, not zany, but this manic comedy, and then boom, we switch it to more of just a horror. And you're kind of just waiting to see where this is going. I don't think it need to be almost 2 hours long. Because it's that guy and Peter Lorre talking about, well, we're going to stay here. The ants don't want him there, but then they ultimately do let him be there. Then how they have a body of their own, and they're going to get the body in. Then Cary Grant's girl comes over, And then they're ready to silence her, but they're not because Cary Grant arrives. Like I said, there are a few chuckles. There's a bit where Cary Grant opens the thing again. He finds a different body, and he tells the aunt, "Who's this?" "I don't know." "What?" And like he almost looks at the camera like, "What? Like what? What's going on?" "I don't know. We didn't do that, and we're not going to bury him there because we don't know who he is." And that man's an imposter. I think that's the line they did. That was probably my favorite line, is the way she said it. "They're going to bury him because that man's an imposter." Like, calling the dead body imposters is not one of the ones the ants killed. For some reason, that's the one line that made me chuckle out loud. And there's a bit where Cary Grant gets tied up, and the cops come, and one cop is there mainly because he knows Cary Grant's a writer, and he's trying to bounce ideas off of it. He doesn't really get what's going on. And then you have this fight that breaks out. Things work out in the end. At first, he doesn't want to marry the girl because, hey, it's said that he runs in the family. Then he finds out he's not related. He's very happy because of that. It's not a bad film. I don't think it's a bad film. I think the actors do their jobs well. I mean, you have people like Cary Grant and Peter Lorre. The girl who is possible fiance, she's very beautiful. She seems very sweet. She puts up with a lot of bullshit. Part of me wished they would have just gotten Boris Karloff. I think that would have been even funnier. Like, you have a guy that looks like Boris Karloff, because it is Boris Karloff, but they say, no, he looks like Boris Karloff. I think if they actually got Boris Karloff, that would have been even funnier. Plastic surgery made it look like Boris, and then you have this guy who is Boris Karloff, but he's pretending to be a guy who was made to look like Boris Karloff. I think that would have been... that would have been more entertaining to see. Plus, I like Boris Karloff, and I think it would have been cool. Or even if it was someone like Bela Lugosi, like that would have been ironic to have him play a character that's made to look like Boris Karloff, but your voice here is Bela Lugosi, or... Well, his accent, he has a thick accent, so how would he be the brother of Cary Grant? Yeah, that's true. That's true, but... the actor was fine, but it's mostly in this one location, mostly. There's not a whole lot of techniques going on camera work wise. Once in a while there's a nice bit of framing. Like there's a bit where Cary Grant's on the phone and you see the staircase in front of him as if like he's in jail behind bars as he's trying to call the cops. So he's trying to call the cops as the camera is behind these frames, so it looks like he's already jailed. Like I said, I think Frank Capra did a good job with Cary Grant and his performance. I get people say, oh, he's too over the top. I think it works in this instance, him bouncing around everywhere because of what's going on. That, to me, gives it a bit of energy that it needed. But yeah, I don't know if it really elicits an hour and 51-minute running time. The music, I honestly don't remember the music, to be honest. Like I said, it's very heavily praised, and a lot of people love it. I can appreciate it. It's just not a film I would ever see again. Just like, if you're able to be a bit more expansive in the production or locations, or maybe if it would had a bit of a better pacing, or Maybe if somehow just Peter Lorre was the brother, you didn't have this plastic surgeon character. It was just Peter Lorre going up against Cary Grant, and they both have this comedic edge to him. And like the brother, I mean, to be honest, you didn't even need the whole Boris Karloff thing. You could have just had it's Peter Lorre and he escaped, and it's him going up with Cary Grant, and Peter Lorre could go, because Peter Lorre could do comedy in a deadpan way fairly well. It's like here's Cary Grant, Peter Lorre, then here's this guy kind of in the way as the serious killer brother, and it's like, oh, I guess he's there for just intimidation factor. Like honestly, that was like the least interesting character to me. Just the only that I can think of and remember is that, oh yeah, he's made to look like Boris Karloff because people keep saying, hey, you look like Boris Karloff. Because that's the running gag. If you like Frank Capra and the films he directed, if you like Cary Grant, which he's a good actor, if you like to see an older film that, in a way, surprisingly, pretty dark plot, pretty black comedy type of plot. Very. I did that whole idea of, all these dead bodies and, oh yeah, these ants were very happy and chipper. Yep, they poisoned them. And just all like crazy brother here, crazy brother there. There was an interest. I would say it was more interesting at the beginning and the ending. The middle portion when the brother first arrives, and then Cary Grant's over here trying to get some business done to maybe put the other brother Teddy Roosevelt in an asylum. Other than Peter Lorre, that middle section kind of like just a little bit boring to me. Like I say, it's not a bad film. I just not a film I would ever rewatch. I know people get pissed. Oh, whatever. If I thought it was a bad film, I would say it. It's just not a film I would ever rewatch again. But that Arsenic and Old Lace from the 1940s. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.